everyone, it's Lulasai. I am here with a review for Fight Club. This is a 1999 movie directed by David Fincher, and it is very integral and important that you do not get spoiled to this in order to experience this masterpiece. And yes, it is a very, very good movie, essentially perfect. And yeah, so if you haven't seen it, highly recommend you stop watching this video. Don't watch any other reviews, just go watch the movie, and then you can always come back later if you want. So yeah, I'm going to be trying to avoid spoilers, but if I accidentally slip up, or just like even, tiptoeing around it might give away something. So highly recommend you go see this movie first. So the plot is that we follow an unnamed character, simply known as the narrator, although outside of the movie you can think of his name as Jack. Even the DVD menu here says, "I am Jack's movie," and that's why he keeps saying, that's one of the inexplicable things in this movie, is that the narrator keeps repeating these sentences about Jack, and you don't know who that is, but it turns out Jack is basically a code name for his character within the script, so outside of the movie. But within the movie, he's not Jack, he is just, an everyday guy, which is the point, and he's just the narrator. So the narrator, you can imagine what he's going to be doing to us. He is going to be narrating to us specifically about how unhappy he is with his life, until he finds some support groups for various ailments and topics that he cannot relate to personally, like cancer and other stuff like that, similar nature. But he keeps showing up to them despite not having any of these problems himself, because the groups make him feel seen and heard. But this is where he meets a woman named Marla Singer, played by Helena Bonham Carter, and the narrator is Edward Norton, of course. So Marla, she is basically doing a similar thing to him, not exactly the same, but a similar thing to him, and the narrator is very clear with her that it's a problem, and her presence is affecting his ability to blend in and be deceitful. So the two of them agree to show up on different days of the week so they don't bump into each other. Then we have another character we meet named Tyler Durden, played by Brad Pitt. And he's the real star of the show here. So he is this mysterious soap salesman, and the two of them, narrator and Tyler, end up becoming roommates, and they end up creating a underground fight club that is basically, it attracts men that similar to the narrator who are, unfulfilled or unhappy with their circumstances, and it gives them an outlet or a way to express themselves by just, beating each other up, and they get some sort of release or enjoyment out of that. So, but the problem is that the Fight Club does develop in advance and turn into something far more dangerous than what it started as, and that's where the real magic of the movie happens. So, let's start with negatives, because it's a very small list. In fact, it's kind of a debatable list, because maybe there is a way to explain some of this stuff that I just haven't picked up on. Regardless, it's not going to end up affecting the score of this movie for me. So, first of all, I would say that there's basically two things that they're very small and are debatable again. So the first thing is, they're kind of the same thing as well actually, but I'm just going to do it in two ways anyway. So first thing is the suspension of disbelief required. You need to suspend your disbelief because once you learn the truth about the nature of things and what's really happening, it makes you question all of the past, especially since this was my second time watching it and I already knew what was going to happen going into it. I was able to analyze these scenes a little bit closer. And yeah, some of the scenes, I guess, are just like ultra convenient in the way certain characters will walk out of the scene before another character walks in. Everything just kind of flows in a perfect storm kind of way, which is fine. It's not the end of the world, but I will say it is a pretty convenient script as far as like all the characters doing exactly what they need to be doing at all times for everything to hold together, and so that nothing slips up and breaks the big secret too early. The other thing is similar to suspension of disbelief, but it's kind of like a logic issue, rather like a believability issue. There are certain scenes, again, maybe just the exact same scenes I'm already talking about, but one scene in particular, there's a scene where a character is being dragged and I don't want to spoil things, but he's in a parking lot being dragged backwards, and it's not plausible how that happens. So unless there's some sort of supernatural force at work here, that shouldn't be happening. So there are some things that happen in here that are simply not possible. But again, not the end of the world. And I mean, the whole movie's like a psychedelic thing anyways, right? So it's pretty easy to excuse that stuff as just seeing things. So, but positives, and neither of those affected the score. Is more like just for the sake of making the video more interesting, having a debate with you if you agree with that or not. That's really the main reason I brought those up. I don't actually care about those at all. It does not affect my enjoyment of watching this film. So, the positives, basically everything. The film is hyper gritty. It is grounded, does not care about your feelings or your beliefs or anything. It is just very straight to the point and spares nothing and is not trying to appease anyone. It's a rare trait and I really appreciate it. The film is just so intriguing and mysterious. The characters are genuinely all interesting. You know, I'm very interested in the fate of each of them. Even the woman who's not necessarily super involved, I didn't mind when the camera cut to her perspective. Like, I was still interested in what was going on with her, despite it being basically a side plot slash kind of love interest, I guess, if you want to call it that. Not really, but sort of. So yeah, there was just never a dull moment in this movie. It's extremely adrenaline fueled. This is a movie where the fighting is actually straight up like a bloodbath, and it's very impactful. My favorite fight scene is the one where Angel Face gets pulverized, and the reason I like it so much is because of the sentence that the narrator says, I just felt like destroying something beautiful. What a peak cinema, man, peak cinema. The ending is very good, it is satisfying, and it takes an otherwise a movie that is kind of out there and maybe not always cohesive and making sense at all times, and then brings it back down to reality during those final moments. So it really pays things off really well. And yeah, I just felt like the movie was even more enjoyable in the second time. I mean, sure, the whole novelty of it is the big reveal of what's the truth about what's happening and what's going on. But even with that knowledge in mind, I still equally, if not more, enjoyed this movie watching it a second time. I watched the second time because I had to, my father, who's obviously way older than I am, he's somehow never seen this movie, which is crazy. So I had to introduce him to it. He really liked it as well. He normally doesn't like dark kind of, you know, he doesn't like things that play with your mind too much. But I told him, I said, you know, yes, this is something, like, I was very clear about what it was before we watched it. I told him, I said, because the reason I'm telling you this is because this is for you to know now, if you want to consider watching this movie or watching it with your family. So I told him straight up, I said, this is a way more intense movie than we normally watch. I don't think, maybe Mom shouldn't join us for this one. But then again, my mom wanted to watch Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2, so I was like, okay, if she's willing to watch those, which I've never seen, maybe this is okay for her, because even though I've never seen Kill Bill, it's probably similar levels of intensity and violence. But yeah, I just told him, I said, normally, I understand you normally don't like psychological deep dive movies, but trust me, this one is good, it's worth it, it's going to be the exception. So he was willing to give it a shot, and he really enjoyed it. Did not put him in a bad mood or negatively affect him or anything. It was just pure fun, just amazing, highly intriguing. So I'm going to give Fight Club a 10 out of 10. It is actually a perfect movie in my opinion, because even though that brief negative section, you can pretty easily hand wave that stuff away by simply saying the main character is unreliable and everything is far too psychotic and psychedelic to take, you know, literally. So yeah, love the movie. Definitely going to be watching it again in the future. Thanks so much for watching this review, and I will see you next time.